What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am BDLM, coming with my buddy J4Y, bringing you episode number 99 of the Dota On Demand podcast. What's going on, man?
Good to have you in person here. You'd think this was like number 100 because we're doing it in person, but...
It's old news. We've been here, we've done this.
It's recycled at this point, this bit. It's a little old. We're going to have to do it from like a top of a mountain for 100 or something.
Opposite sides of the world. We've done right, in the same room.
I'll do here.
Yeah.
And you
find
go to like China or something?
It's probably in the middle of the ocean. I'll do the radio show from a raft. Well said. Well said.
No, it's Jay. God, never get my name right.
I don't.
So yeah, 99. So we didn't get to do it Tuesday, but that's all right because we're doing it now. Either way, your weekly fill will get
filled.
Success.
You will be filled weekly.
With Dota. Hopefully, we all wait. No.
Go on. Go on.
Goodness. Anyways,
off to a great start.
Great start as always. Yeah, we're having a good time here though. Glad to be back in action. Had a episode 10 recently. Dotha, we're trying to get that kind of back on track. We'd love some more submissions. Haven't gotten any more recently. And the sooner we get them, the more prepared we could be.
That's the dream.
Which, as you might tell from this episode, is not always 100%. But we'd love to be as close to that as possible. So, yeah, please, as soon as you have a great game, you're like, you know what? I think this would be awesome to have a Dota theater on. Just shoot us our way, and yeah, we'll take care of it.
I'm over-prepared. Overloaded. Over-prepared. I watched all of Empire VP games that have ever occurred, and they're all kind of blending together.
That's not an understatement.
Unfortunately, I actually watched the wrong series for the research for this week's episode of the podcast, so it's coming 2 days late. Thank you guys for bearing with us as we have moved and adjusted some times. But if you've gotten to see what happened last week, it was because we had a great show with our buddy Roro from Simply Dota.
Yeah. You
can check it out on our website, dotaondemand.com. It's in the featured content as well as in the DoD Presents section, where we talked to him about stuff from, I guess, some of the content from our previous episodes and talking about just community and manner, and also about his regular series, or not regular series, but his various series on learning Dota called Simply Dota. Just go check it out. Go check out the episode.
Yeah, he just did his new series that he actually talked to us about. I think it was like going from 1K to 5K in a week. I have to say, unfortunately, I don't remember the name. You know what? It wasn't that catchy. That's okay. He's got work in progress. It's a good series though. That's what matters. So it took us years to come up with some of our titles, and like DoD Presents. That took years to craft that and put it all, and put in a little box there.
Yeah.
A lot of forethought has to come in, but yeah, it's really good stuff. Like you said, he's a great guy. Seems awesome. Loves to create content. So definitely check him out. I think our goals, ambitions.
Our dreams, our aspirations, stretch goals, which we've actually built in some extra time with some of these delays to hit, but we have successfully reached the goal for the website, which was to have a little release party.
Yes.
So that will happen sometime after episode 100. We're going to go ahead and just turn the stream on tonight, play some games with some viewers, have some other shenanigans happen. It should be a lot of fun. I hope you guys can show up so we can interact with you guys. We can do some more random middle games after the Pugna one.
Please.
It was amazing and hilarious.
No silencer.
Hopefully techies
silencer
will be out
banned. Oh god.
by the time
10
Suicide
techies.
Squad success.
If you suicide, do all the 10 guys explode or something? Is it like the Meepo bug?
One can only hope. It would only make it more interesting. So yeah, we're definitely looking forward to being able to put that on. We have 2 other stretch goals. So it's based on Facebook likes and Twitter follows. I've seen babies, like 3 months old Facebook accounts. Get them involved. Teach grandma something about the internet. Make her a Facebook and get her to like the Facebook page. And
she's already a fan, but she just doesn't have Facebook to show it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Birds tweet. Get them involved. So just come help us push for these last couple goals. Have one more week to make them. And we have Ogre Magi Dota on the line, as well as the board game evening, which there's also, if you're a registered user for the website and helped us get to that mark, you can go there and vote for what character I would be should these shenanigans go down.
I think the Beard Knight is
Neckbeard Knight.
Unfortunately, that's like the worst one to be winning right now.
It's going to take some time.
We're not going to be able to do this until 2015, but, you know, whatever we have it available. Or you just have to put like a bunch of like fake beard stuff on.
Yeah.
Or like cotton swabs. You could be like the white bearded knight.
Yeah.
It could work. But yeah, so we're getting there, but yeah, we definitely need your guys' help. So please stop by and give us a follow and a like. Yeah. I think we can finally get on to content. Like Dota
ridiculous
stuff.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the various roster changes as well as the MSI BeatIT Global, EU, Grand Final, Qualifier, any other adjectives that you can throw in there. Which actually winds up being between Virtus.pro and Empire, as previously mentioned. But, you know, there have been a lot of switches back and forth, a lot of recent team news as well, but, you know, going all the way back since the International. So I have a lot of those changes to keep you guys in the loop. And some of these I'm actually super excited about, all the ones that have happened recently, but I'm going to hand it over to you, my friend.
Yeah, now, I mean, this is going to be kind of like a extension from, we talked about, I think the episode was the rumor grape mill, or the... involved grapes and mills and making them with rumors involved. But there's come a long way. There's been a lot more discoveries. So some of these might be old news, some might be new. So either way, we're kind of go over a lot of them. Some of them not spend too much time on, just kind of throw it out there. But we might as well just start from the top of the list and go down. Sounds good to me. Always good to go down.
Learning a lot about you tonight.
VG Gaming. Let's just keep going, because why would I even pause and listen to that? VG Gaming actually had some of the cool changes. They got a couple replacements. So for our ROTK, you know, into his retirement, Ice. So I guess we should, on the forefront to say DK is no more. The roster, they all parted ways, unfortunately. Well, you knew one retired, Lamb retired, and then the other four doing their own stuff. They disappeared. They're just gone. But now they're reappearing. They're fine. But apparently DK did put out a message saying they want to rebuild a team. So I believe Burning is staying around to help them pick talent or something. But he's not going to play. He's just going to help them. So anyways.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, but obviously he's got a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, so he's going to be really useful for that. But yeah, so DK, we will see another team under the DK rank, but it's not going to be your favorite personalities from the east side. The east side? All right.
Yes.
I don't think that's how they say it over there. But each game, yeah, so Ice making his way over, along with Black. So we had some discussions about him previously, about how he's just amazing, obviously, at the one role. What do you think about him finding another team here on the east side?
I'm super stoked for him, because, like we were talking about in the qualifiers, his team they didn't want to practice. They were sad that they might not be able to go, so they were just like, F it, we're not even going to try. Clearly, VG Gaming is an organization. I feel like you can even just like ignore the other players. I feel like the organization, because of their name, they're going to be like, hey, you guys are practicing, right? Like, you're going to show up and actually try to play games, right? And then you put them with some of these other names, Super Ice, you know, all of these players, Fenrir and FY. I feel like this is a group of talent that is actually really going to have a lot of success. And like I said before, that the language barriers don't get in the way a whole lot. And I'm sure the more time he spends on a team from Asia, it's going to be even less of an issue. So I'm actually really, really happy to see him in a team where there is clear potential for him to be successful, because I think, you know, he's maybe even caught some flack in the past, but really not even found himself in a position to really make a huge showing on the scene. So it's good to see him actually in that position now. Yeah,
it feels like with CIS at least, he almost was like carrying his team on his back for the majority of the games. Like, not completely. I mean, there was talent on the team, but you know, they did depend a lot on him to succeed. Whereas in this lineup, you look at the other players, and you know they're going to be pulling their weight for sure. It will be interesting to see. Like you said, I mean, Ice has been like dancing around on different teams, it seems, almost every year here. But hopefully he'll find a home that he actually likes. And this one makes a lot of sense to me. I think he will find a lot of success with these players. And like you say, it'll take a little time to build chemistry maybe between all of them together, but at least they have 3 consistent players from their previous roster. That's going to help a lot with the unity. And as long as they kind of give them some space, but let them like kind of join in the festivities and make them feel part of the team, I think it's going to be a good fit. But it'll definitely be interesting to see how that goes. So hopefully there'll be some good East Dota stuff going on soon. Newbie, this was pretty crazy. So, to find their replacement, they actually acquired Rabbit from LGD China for the equivalent of $130,000 to play Zhao 8.
I believe Zhao 8 was purchased for $84,000, which I believe at that time was the most that had been spent to release a player's contract. So that's pretty crazy. I mean, that's a pretty big increase, but hey, throw money at it and you get rings. So why not keep up the strat? You might as well. It's been working so far. Rabbit, really well-respected player, and, that's just still going to be a scary
You've got to feel really good if you're Rabbit. Like, someone's buying you for $130,000, you got to feel pretty confident in your abilities.
He's probably wishing he saw that money directly, but...
Give me a cut, off the top a little bit. Like 5%, I'll take it.
Something. But I feel like that's... Gonna be really. I'm really curious to see how they wind up doing, because that's a lot of money to invest into a player. But with the way Dota 2 is growing, that's, I feel like, pocket change, considering what some of the organizations are going to be able to get from
the sponsors and everything else are going to just put so much money into this industry. So, but it's exciting to hear that much money. Of course, it's still China, so it's not really affecting us over here on the States, but. It's still like you're seeing it happen over a global perspective, and it's like, okay, this is just making it that much bigger and better. So Rabbit going over there. So Newbie already, obviously, an impressive team. You can't deny that.
Yep.
With that big W under their belt. But now we're going to even have Rabbit. So, Zhao 8 was a huge piece of their puzzle, but I feel like he's going to be a perfect fit, so no issues there. So for IG, they put in a couple players here. Their new lineup is Ferrari, Luo. Did I say that right?
Luo? Yes.
Luo? That sounds right. June, Chuan, of course. Well, Chuan for now. I'm actually almost surprised to hear that he's there.
He'll quit and leave 4 times for the next international, but that's not important.
Yeah, that's not important at all. And then Chizbug, or Chizbug, or I don't really know how to pronounce it, but apparently he's an old Warcraft 3 player who they purchased from LGD when IG was first formed. So he's been around for a long time, and now he's just kind of coming back into Dota 2 on this roster. So I guess not too much stuff out there, but it sounds interesting at least. Empire, so if you've been watching at least this qualifier, if not the other games going on recently, you'll see that Solo has been playing as their support. He officially joined, replacing Vanscore, who left, which we'll get into in a little bit. Where he went off to. That little scoundrel. Not scandal, though. Almost funny. And but he's actually, we've seen him play a decent amount now. He actually played Naga Siren in this series a good amount, but he loves to play that 4 role. Seems to do really well with it, so I'm excited to see what he's going to do for that team. Maybe elevate them some.
Yeah.
LGD, Faith joined. Actually, their roster I'm not really recognizing as much, but to a degree. MMY, we know him, obviously, so he made his way. Then Sylar, Inflame, and Yao. So, got some new blood in there, but it probably will work out. We already talked about DK, how it's going. It's gone. Mushi went back apparently to Malaysia to develop for personal reasons. So I don't know what that means. Maybe he's going on a lightened journey or something.
Puberty maybe hit really
he
late.
He did play recently. There's called Team Mushi or something.
Okay, that's a good team.
I like the sound of it. I'm on board. And I think they got crushed or something.
Well,
but, the point is he played. So he's still playing Dota. He's just doing whatever it is he's doing right now. So we'll see if he actually goes on to a real team or does. Who knows what's in store for him, but I'm sure there's plenty. Zephyr. So, not the biggest news, but our boys from Zephyr. Purge decided to stand back and go from support to a managerial role.
Full support. Real support. Business support.
RL support, yes. Which actually I think honestly suits him the best. I mean, he's obviously loves analysis. He loves watching games and doing that kind of thing. So he's going to kind of step back and do that while one of my favorite streamers, Melini, has stepped in for this season, I think it's the KDL, Season 3. So he's over in Korea playing with them, which unfortunately sucks for me because I don't get to see him stream anymore.
How do you manage your day at work now?
It's awful. It's all actually he always streamed at he started streaming at 11 p.m. right as I was going to bed. So I'm like, shit. Now I'm gonna stay up till 1 in the morning watching him play Dota. Anyways, so I mean we're not gonna see too much of that, but it's kind of cool to see Merlini step back into a pro scene a little bit. Which actually there was an article.
Yes.
CNN. You read it too, I believe. Yeah.
I skimmed it.
I looked for the pictures, and there was a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
Good haircut. But yeah, it's actually on CNN, so it's really cool. And basically, they were just talking about how he graduated college. Was in what was his major?
All right, let's not.
It was biomedical engineering or something crazy. And then he was actually so embarrassed. He wouldn't even tell his girlfriend that he was playing video games or something because he was so embarrassed about his other life or whatever. And he thought that he needed a career like everyone else. But eventually he was on some other teams and he's built his path. And now he's got a career path that he's making good money and self-sustaining off esports. And it kind of went into that whole transition for him. So really cool. You guys should check it out if you go to CNN, and hopefully we can even post it on our.
Yes, it'll be on the Dota On Demand Facebook right after this. And you
right after. If you like us, we're gonna hold it hostage until you give us that like. So, anyways, so that's pretty cool. For EG, Fear made his grand return.
I'm glad to hear this because I know when they sort of released Mason that everybody's like, "Oh, that means Fear's coming back." I was like, I mean, maybe. Hopefully, that's what I would like to see.
Right.
But it is nice to see him return. I hope that he's in a sustainable condition because we don't know how much EG is going to be playing before, I guess, some of the more major tournaments come up. But hopefully he doesn't push himself back into injury. But, I guess he feels, and his doctors feel that he's in shape to come back.
He's streaming a lot recently.
Yeah, I feel like I saw him streaming playing when he was still technically injured, so I guess just to see if he could still do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm definitely glad to see him come back. I want him and EG as it stands to have another go at it because my personal opinions of the International, while they did very well, it was that Mason did kind of seem like the bum leg on that centipede for some of the games. So I am curious to see, what they're able to do now that all of them have the experience of going that far in the International. Now to have Fear back to the helm, that's got to be a really nice boon for them for all the LAN tournaments they attend this year, including the International 5 when that comes.
Oh, yeah.
Got to keep your eyes on the prize.
And maybe ESL New York?
Yes. Oh, my God. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
That's
the body.
A thing.
The body is getting ready for that.
It's preparing. The body is willing. The checkbook is not.
No.
The body is willing.
The checkbook has been out the window. I just bought a car, by the way. So you talk about checkbooks out the window. I don't even know where mine is anymore. I need to actually find it to pay the people that I didn't pay them. Yeah. So gotta find the checkbook, but yeah.
Before some sharks come around. We're still looking to get
we're gonna hop on the back of a train like an old western and ride our way to New York or something.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Could work.
Still looking to get the giant DoD decal to stick on the car that Jay purchased while he's asleep. But
I purchased it when I'm asleep?
No. I'll put the decal on the car when you're asleep.
I was tired that day, I admit, but okay.
Anyways,
back on track. C9. Sorry for the claps. Fada replaced Sing Sing. So Sing Sing, as a lot of people know, or I think you feel like a lot of people would anyways because he streams so much that they would just know he's now no longer part of their team. But Fada came in. So the first thing I said was oh, we're going to see C9 run Troll Warlord a lot. I don't think they've actually done it that much. And you'd think, oh, Drow plus Troll Warlord. I mean, how could you lose with this combination, right? Watch some of their replays. No, but I mean, I like Fada. I think he's a good player. It's just, I don't know. He just doesn't give me the same. I don't even know the word I'm looking for here. Not something inappropriate, but the point is, I
You don't
really
get the
like
feels.
Sing Sing in that. Yeah, I don't get the feels. I like Sing Sing so much in that comp. I feel like he fit with the teams. He gelled with them really well too, and it'll just be interesting to see if Feta can do the same thing with them. I mean, I wish them the best of luck, but they've always been kind of one of these teams that's like, you don't really know if they're going to do well or not because they have a lot of skill and potential, but they're not consistent. So
Yeah.
that's one of their things. Do you like this replacement?
Sing Sing very lovingly rode on my shoulder at the international floor
Aw.
while signing Gino Bean's mouse pad. I was the table. He was very gentle and caring, and he made me feel special.
Did he call you after?
Like I was the only girl that he had written on the shoulder of that day. And so, I'm always going to be a fan of Sing Sing. I like Feta too, though. So, like you said, it's C9 has some room to become more consistent.
Yeah.
And sort of get an identity that is more than just...
They need
BeatIT.
a house.
I need a
Cloud9
house.
itself has a lot of teams. They probably have houses. I was going to say heist, like the plural of mouse and mice. I wanted to say heist right there, and I'm glad I held back. But even though I explained it, make myself still look stupid.
That's all in, though.
No, everyone had to know that.
Yeah.
C9 has a lot of heists, but
Yeah, they could probably benefit from something like that. Although,
aren't they kind of spread out?
I wonder. I don't know if I could live with Eternal Envy.
Oh,
I'd
well, you're
feel
gonna
like
listen
that would be
to
difficult.
anime music all day,
Yeah,
watch animes all day. I don't know what he eats.
food.
Most likely, food sounds
I-
accurate.
That's one of those things. And
That's
when
true.
you start looking into the house setting, is how do people get along? Because you start spending that much time together. And,
Yep.
But they got time, and I have to say, especially for a lot of these bigger clubs, I'm glad that within a reasonable amount of time, we still haven't seen too many like huge tournaments coming up. We do have a LAN event coming up very soon, which I'm super stoked about. But it's nice to see that a lot of these teams seem to be falling into very. It looks like these will be sustainable lineups. Like none of these come across to me like this is weird. I wonder if this is gonna hold up. Maybe a couple of these, but for the most part, it's like these pretty straightforward acquisitions that I think.
We'll get to one that I don't know that will hold up.
Yeah,
But that's fine.
Well,
We'll see if we agree on it. I think we do.
Yeah,
I think we do.
But anyway,
Anyways.
it's nice that it seems that these are going to be teams that will most likely stick together, and I feel like, despite TK and stuff like that, the fact that a lot of these teams have remained at least mostly intact is also kind of.
I know there's at
reassuring.
least about 3 players staying on most of the teams, if not more. That is really nice. And the ones we're not mentioning are all still the same lineups. So we're just mentioning the ones that have changes. Some of them haven't even had changes. So, but most of them have been affected. Let's just jump into some of the. Well, let's. I'm not gonna go to that one yet. I want to go to Verse Pro. So, Illidan and Smile left. I know, skipped ahead. But BZZ and Sadoy have actually been subbing in, and we saw them in this qualifier play, and they've been playing with them in general. So I don't know that it's confirmed that they're like part of the team, but they've been filling in, and they look like they're comfortable with them. So
I like them. I mean, Virtus Pro didn't get the longest of runs for international glory. I'm kind of glad to see them. They seem to be playing at a pretty reasonable level. Being able to do pretty well here in the BeatIT Global. So, yeah, and I have to agree. I think that BZZ 633, whatever he chooses to go by,
it's a different name every week.
did a really good job, I think, playing unconventional heroes. And, he's a hero or a player that I've had a decent amount of respect for just watching him in general. So, before playing for Virtus Pro. So, you know.
Because I'm going to explain to the people because this is my lack of knowledge kicking in. I was just making sure Arzart and Smile were the same person.
Okay.
Because people call them different things.
Thinking it was art style?
Yeah, Art Style's the other one I get. Thank you.
Oh,
That was the one I was starting to
ruins my
think of.
life.
Well, that's why thankfully we're not talking about him today. But this will tie right into the next thing then. Because Smile left, and guess where they ended up?
Where?
Moscow 5!
They're probably going to do great.
Now, this is like the first Moscow 5 team I've been excited for possibly ever.
Okay.
I have to say, possibly ever. Well, it's nothing wrong with Russia. It's just the fact. I mean, no, let's be honest. I like Navi, and it's close enough to Russia. So Russia. I don't know why I said it like
Mother
that.
Russia.
Mother Russia. But this team, so Tron, Boyerbrain, which from my Han days and yours, Faye V was what he went by a lot in Here's a New Earth, and maybe even Dota 1. He played Necrolite mid and just dominated Han, the equivalent of Necrolite, and I just loved it. So I just want to see more of Faye V. I hope he plays a role, like a 2 role or something.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but I'm really optimistic for that. So anyways, Tron, Boyerbrain, Smile, or Arzart, Nexus, and Vigos. And Vigos also has been around for a long time, too. So, yeah, really powerhouse kind of team, I think.
Yeah, I think they'll do fine. I'm not, like, losing my mind
You're
about it.
You're not blowing your brain over it?
Not yet. Maybe on the second day.
I don't know. I just have so many fond memories of Faye V, I guess. And I'm trying to, like, push them onto this team. Like, hey, you guys have to do that cool stuff. So
I mean, I feel like, Smile's done some cool stuff, even playing for VP. There's potential here, for sure. I think that they'll be able to be a fine team. Whether or not they'll start dominating or anything is...
Yeah, that's to be seen, I guess. But, yeah, potential for sure is nice. So I guess I can go back up. Sorry for skipping around on you here.
This is ridiculous.
You were so lost here. Navi decided to, unfortunately, the consistent roster for a whole, what's it been?
Year?
Yeah, I guess it
Might
has
be a
just.
little longer than that.
But it's been more than a year, hasn't it? 2. Wasn't it 2 internationals, that roster? Well, that could still be like 1 year though. Well, either way, they are no longer consistent. Kurokai and Puppy were given the boot. And they were replaced with FNG and Vangscore, which we were just talking about before. FNG coming from Power Rangers. So, I know you have some thoughts on... well, they're both support players, so how about on both of them?
I'm Vangscore. I love all the people that were formerly a part of Empire. We had our episode about Empire. Every single one of those players was doing so phenomenally at that time. And I particularly like the way that Vangscore and Always Don't Fly have been playing. FNG, here's my thing. I feel like Mastermind Puppy, he's been doing fine, I guess. But I guess I haven't had my brain blown quite so much.
What a great phrase.
Yeah. With some of the recent shenanigans of drafting. And the thing that I love seeing about FNG, who, like you said, came from Power Rangers, so, a lineup that has seemed to be like the team killers. They would just go and figure out who's doing the best, beat them, and then just lose. But the thing that I love seeing is that he seems to be drafting a lot of heroes that players are just comfortable with. Like, have seen Hovost playing Weaver, have seen Dendy playing Zeus and Skywrath Mage. And it's like these things that you may have seen like in previous games, like a long time ago. Hovost was just cleaning house on Weaver, and Dendy was streaming for a while with Zeus, like back to back games on playing Skywrath Mage middle effectively. So I really like seeing just the way that FNG is drafting. I really have a lot of hope, despite the fact that people might be like, "Oh, from Power Rangers, I wonder how that's
right." A lower tier team considered. But, yeah, I mean, that doesn't matter. The players get picked up from wherever they get picked up from. Point is, he's bumped up to... It's like going from the rookies... What are they called? Baseball analogy?
Minor leagues?
Yeah, you know the baseball analogy here. I had it in my thoughts, but I couldn't convey it. But, yes, go for the minor leagues, giving your chance for the pro team. And so far, I mean, they've been killing it. I think today in the Star Ladder, they won both their games against Alliance, and I can't remember the other team. But... yeah, they're looking really impressive. And this is against an Alliance team that I'm really impressed with, frankly. I think they've done a lot of good work. So they're looking like they're new and improved. They kind of have a new passion and fire, and they're killing it. So, yeah, I've been really impressed with the new Navi lineup. So we'll see how that continues, I guess. And people might say, oh, are Kurokai and Pup, what happened to them? Are they done? Of course they're not done.
Of course not.
Of course not. They actually went to the secret team.
But
But they've been found out, so it's kind of not making a lot of sense anymore. They should be like the discovered team or something. But that wasn't a good joke. It's fine. So that team roster consists of Puppy, Kurokai, S4 from Alliance, which by the way is no longer on Alliance. Spoiler. No Tail or Big Daddy, as whatever you want to call him these days, and then Fly. So both from Fnatic, we got No Tail and Fly, and then Alliance S4, and then we got Navi, we got Puppy, Kurokai. So it's kind of like this jumble of personalities from the Western scene, just kind of smashed together to play. I mean, personality-wise and like likability, I mean, everyone loves this team because it's like, oh, look at all these cool guys that we've known forever. This is awesome. But I've only watched them play once, but I have to say that one game.
Base my whole opinion on that one.
You have to. Remember Fish Sticks? I've told you about this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it again.
No.
But that's the whole point. Is like I don't know. It just did not feel comfortable. Like they weren't meshing. Then again, DK when they first were formed, it's kind of sloppy.
Yeah.
They were kind of all over the place because they were still getting comfortable. So I'm not. I guess I shouldn't put all my opinions out there quite yet. But it seems like they're going to definitely need a lot more practice, which they'll have, I'm sure. But it's cool to think, kind of like some of the other rosters we talked about, like, oh, here's some good players, but will they work well together? I guess time will tell.
Yeah, and you get to see Kuroki go back to hard carry, I believe.
Yes, he's playing the one role.
And so that'll be neat to see. I wonder how Puppy and No Tail get along. That's just... I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to say one way or another, but I feel like I could see them not getting along. I could see them butting heads, I guess.
Perchance.
Maybe they get along fine. They're bros. They have matching anklets. I don't know. But I could just see potential there. I am, of course, like you said, I feel like everybody who pays attention to the competitive Dota 2 scene is somewhat invested in a lot of these players. So I hope they do well.
So, I think Fnatic's the only thing... Oh, we have a couple left, but not much. So, Fnatic, we already talked about. No Tail and Fly heading out. Instead, their lineup could be... This wasn't 100% confirmed, so let's go to the rumors, shall we?
Rumor mill.
The rumor mill, churning away. The lineup might be Trixie.
Jesus, good luck.
Matumbaman. Sounds like an African name. Matumbaman. Boogie with 2 U's. Hani. Hey, I know Hani. And then Paz, which I recognize. But definitely do not recognize the Matumbaman or Boogie. Now, this might just be my ignorance, because some people be like, oh, of course, come on, JBDL. What are you guys talking about? That guy. But I guess we'll definitely see what happens, because, Air also left, which we kind of foresaw happening as well. But, so yeah, this is kind of like a almost new. It's kind of the end of an era.
Wow. Jesus.
You can't make that stuff up. That's too good. But it's the end of an era because they were, quote unquote, the Han trash coming into the scene. Fnatic getting transferred from Han. They were like god tier in that game. Came over, struggled a lot off the bat, but found their way to actually be really competitive towards the end. So it's kind of sad to see them split off into different directions. But I guess they've given that enough of a chance and want to try new things.
Yeah.
And then Team Tinker.
People need to really stop calling them Team Marino, Tinkerino.
Isn't that just one person that does that?
No, that's how they are.
Is it really?
That's their team name.
Oh, boy.
Stop it, everyone out there. Stop it.
Stupid Streamerinos. Sorry.
You say it enough in your free time to
drive
me.
I don't even mean to. And I only say it around you, by the way. I say it around no one else.
Perfect.
My life. Christina's never heard that once. So, lucky
Good
for her.
for her.
No, she would leave me. That would happen. But yeah, Team Tinker. We'll just call them that. That's fine. They originally formed for the I-League qualifiers, but apparently it could be legitimate since Sing Sing left his team officially. So there's more rumor mills churning away here. Or doing the Congo, or whatever the hell I'm just doing over here.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, Bulba, Sing Sing, Excalibur, Pajkat, and Quavka.
Quickva?
I call him Quavka. Sounds like a fruit.
You also call him Pajkat a lot.
I didn't this time.
You were close.
It was similar. How do you say it?
Pycat?
Damn it. I like the J. I like to pronounce the J.
Phonetics of J4Y.
Pajkat. Doesn't that sound better? It sounds royal, like he's royalty. Pajkat. Anyways,
I don't know.
so I think this and Secret Team are like literally parallels here. Like they're both rosters of people that are all individually good, but will they work together is the question.
Part of me almost doesn't want it to succeed, just because it does feel like they just...
Maybe they should mix and match, like try different rosters each week. Like, which ones work out of these 10 players?
It kind of feels like they just like shuffled names in a hat and drew for who was going to be in these lineups.
It does.
Like we said, individually talented players. Curious to see how they do together. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But I do have to say that, that compared to like the new Na'Vi lineup, I'm actually super excited about.
Yeah.
Some of these other I
want to see BeatIT so badly. I want to see them play so badly.
Those are probably the two that I'm actually most looking forward to. Even EG, seeing Fear come back.
That's true.
Even though that'll probably stay fairly.
I mean, it's very consistent. Where placing a 1 is almost not very different. Obviously, I mean.
It'll probably matter for the LAN events, not so much for online play.
Exactly. But. Yeah, I definitely agree. I want to see Tinker play Secret Team. I want to see how that goes. It'd almost be like the All-Star event.
Yeah.
At the International.
They have to play for what team people actually root for.
Oh, what an interesting debacle. So that's kind of all we got. We might have missed some here and there, but those are the broad strokes. So pretty cool stuff overall. So let's get down to the old meat and potatoes.
Yes, the MSI BeatIT Global EU Grand Final. So this is an event, the qualifiers to set up for a LAN final in Taiwan. For these finals, Empire start with a game 1 advantage, and just to give you some more background about this tournament, $25,000 first place prize. So I already off to a great start. Like you said, starting November 1st and 2nd. So right around the corner, really. A lot of great teams.
We going to that one?
Yeah.
I would love to go to Taiwan, frankly.
There were people at the international event that were from Singapore, and they said there was like 15-hour flight. Something like that.
Ain't nothing?
No. They
Jeez.
Killed it.
Impressive. I know, like, we complained about our, 6-hour flight. Like, oh my god! East Coast to West Coast.
Yeah.
People are like, I haven't slept for 3 days to get here. It's like, well, gotta do what you gotta do.
So I feel like it's a really nice prize pool to start things off, and I guess another reason that I like some of these teams have only swapped out a couple people. Like, the prize pools are still very serious. There really isn't a lull or a lapse in the competition, so I'm really curious to see. I'm just glad to see everybody coming together here to take form. And so we have in the finals Empire versus VP. They meet in the winners bracket. As it turns out, I saw that too.
So useful.
So useful. But did you have any, I guess, just general thoughts about this matchup and anything that, I don't know, maybe out of the ordinary popped up that you were really happy to see?
I mean, there were so many regular things that happened in the series that it's so hard to go into detail. Well, I guess the one name that might strike out to me here is Chikiro. If I were to just shout out a name, that one would, I think, right off the tip of the tongue. VP was going ham with their early game drafts. It was kind of the story of the drafts. And I think the drafts is what we're going to focus on mostly in this series, because the gameplay itself, there were some interesting points, and we might talk a little bit about those, but really it comes down to how are you forming your team here? Who are you banning out to make sure your strat succeeds? And then do you have a good way to counter what they're doing? And I mean, like I was saying, Fnatic here, Fnatic, VP. The MSI. Well, every time I see MSI, I think of Fnatic, so it just kind of jumps to me.
You're excused.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But yeah, they really went with early strong lanes, good tower pushers, but not overly. It's not like an all-in, we need to kill towers in 10 minutes strat, because they have some viability through the mid game, I would say, with a lot of these drafts. But they're still insanely strong. Also, their bans were almost the same every game. So they really had a clear-cut image. Now, granted, it might just be because they were playing against Empire, and so maybe they're just like, okay, Empire likes these heroes, we're just going to take them out. But it also could just be those heroes in the meta, too. So, anything kind of jump out at you off the bat, besides Jakiro?
One thing that, and maybe not necessarily just for this series, but Earthstriker was becoming really popular around when we were seeing a lot of the LAN events pick up, and the fact that he's just remained relevant, I find really interesting. And again, going back to the winner bracket matchup between these two teams, I thought it was actually really interesting that you looked at how the drafts went up against one another. It seemed to be that the team, for at least the first 2 games of the 3-game series, that went for the high-impact, long-range initiation, less level-dependent heroes seemed to come out on top. And it was the teams that were really more ultimate-dependent or had that Faceless Void, or they're waiting to land the Chrono, seemed to struggle. And they sort of got to a point where it was hard for them to come back, even just looking at the first 5 and 6 levels of the game. And because the players they had on these heroes were able to be really successful, like the Mirana arrows, with the Earthshaker Fissures, they're actually able to get the experience for the kills and not spend so much time under-leveled and under-farmed. So that was just something that I found really interesting. You still see a lot of the meta-relevant heroes, but what was really cool, I think, and like you were saying with Jakiro, it's just cool to see some just sort of off-the-wall stuff. And core Jakiro, not the first time we've seen it, but it's definitely not a super common thing.
Yeah, Aui's not even allowed to play in core. So,
sad days.
By the way, speaking of Aui,
okay,
I have one thing I want to say, and it's not out of hate. It's out of just, I want it to be changed.
Okay.
I want people, casters,
particularly the red-headed ones,
they have red hair in particular, to stop calling the Rod of Atos Rod of Aui. It is one of my biggest pet peeves right now. I'll tell you why. First of all, people watching the stream, there might be a lot of players that aren't as familiar with items as the casters are. And when you say a name incorrectly like that, it could throw them off. Second of all, it's not like he's the only player that's ever built this item. And okay, I get it. It's cute the first couple times you say it, but when he literally every single time calls it the Rod of Aui, it's just gotten old. And I just would like it to go back to the Rod of Atos. So sorry for that little path, but I just had to get it off my chest.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't know. I sort of like a lot of these phrases when they come in for the first 10 minutes, like Wombo Combo. Quickly joined my list of phrases I hate. Eno is now the least favorite thing in the world for me. Starving Kittens or Eno. I think I hate Eno a little bit more. Yeah, I'm just, I get that it's fun, and you are assuming that probably the
it's
majority
clever.
of your listening audience understands that Aui made this item popular, so we're gonna call it Rod of Aui in his honor. You just call it Rod, or Rod of Aui, and everybody will be happy. But we'll say I did not like
the build.
The builds.
Yes. Let's get into this. Let's get into this core Jakiro.
Let's get into it.
So his typical build. He played 3 out of the 4 games, core Jakiro. And when I say he, I'm talking about,
633.
633.
BZZ.
BZZ in the house. So he started out with the Ring of Silius, good lane presence item, of course. We've talked about a million times how much you love that item. Went into Phase Boots on Jakiro, into Mech, into Rod of Atos. Skill build. Generally maxing Liquid Fire and alternating between that and Ice Path. No points in the Dual Breath until after the others are maxed out. Alright, your turn.
Okay.
Any praise before dislike?
No, I like this for a lot of reasons. One, the big thing is, even though we're all probably really, really, really ready for a patch to just drive Tinker straight into the ground, right? It is kind of cool that you see this strategy not only be so successful that it prompts Jakiro bans further on in the series, But seeing a hero that everybody would go, Jakiro, he's a support, you really get to show why, not necessarily. And it's for a lot of the same reasons that we see some of these other heroes, or like Viper and but I guess the more random mech carriers, where you just go, I'm durable, I got the mana, I'll get mech, and then we'll just push off of that. When you're able to do so much structure damage so early on in the game, having the mech up so quickly, really nice. Fine. Phase boots, fine. You don't need the attack speed from power treads. Arcane boots, if you're only leveling one of your spells, are you really that concerned about the mana?
Right.
So you can just get away with doing more damage.
Oh, and Ice Path is so affordable.
Yes.
He's got a huge mana pool, for sure.
So if you're only casting 2 spells, sure, you don't even need that. My thing personally, ROA, long cast range, very cool. So, but I personally really enjoy the Yule Scepter, just because you get to guarantee your ice paths, gives you movement speed. Jakiro
and macro fires.
Yeah. It gives you the move speed, and Jakiro is basically a flying turtle. So, and it gives you some regeneration, so that when you finally do get these other spells, you can afford them. I totally like Radabatos on him. I just think I would prefer seeing Eels first.
I like Radabatos maybe on a, maybe I was going to say maybe on a support Jakiro instead of a core one. To help you with that, like you said, that long reach, because a core Jakiro is going to have levels and stuff, so he's going to be a lot more durable. He's not going to need to worry about being on the brink of the fights. He can be in the middle of it. So I like Radabatos on a hero that doesn't have to worry about being in the middle of all the action. I actually like the phase boots too. I think it's interesting. Give him more damage, so when he uses his liquid fire, it's just going to burst like a truck and do a lot of damage. But in general, I think the Yules, I just have to agree with you. A lot of his abilities, actually all of them except liquid fire, are area dependent. So you need to make sure they're in a certain position for you to land them. And while Ice Path is pretty reliable because it's not that long of a delay before it goes off, it's just a guarantee, like you said. You can just throw it out there. When they come back down, they're frozen. You could duel, macro, whatever you want to do next. Your team can come in as well. And then defensively, let's say you're against a Bat Rider in a game, for example. It could happen, right?
It's possible.
It's possible. You can use it defensively. Like, what's a Radabatos against Bat Rider? He'll just force staff. He'll be fine. He'll get his distance. But if you Yules him, well, then he's not going anywhere with his lasso target. So, plus move speed on Jakiro seems kind of like a neat idea. Mm-hmm. Plus phase boost. He's already going fast. So that's another great attribute there.
I was going to say, Devil's Advocate is you have to get so reasonably close to use the Yules. So if you're looking for the super long range initiation, you can slow, and then your likelihood of hitting the ice path is pretty high. I personally just feel like it's still, because of the long cast times on all of his spells, it's just nice to be able to say you're going to be in the ice path, and then you're subsequently going to be in the macro fire. And if you wind up going something that gives you more mana regeneration instead of just the int and the health, then you maybe can get more points into Dual Breath a little bit earlier.
Now, what I was going to say is, okay, maybe, situationally, Radabatos could be good. They were against a Centaur that time. So maybe if Centaur was chasing after someone, he could slow them. Or, there's good reasons to have him in certain lineups. But, and then you could also say, okay, it also gives a lot of early... it's one of the stronger, tanky caster items you can get. Obviously, the Vit Booster gives you that health to last longer in fights. But... yeah, as far as the hero is concerned, especially a core one, I'm not sure. But, it's not like it was horrible for him. We just think maybe there's a better situation or a better item.
I think it's fine. I think me personally, I prefer the Yules. But I definitely did like seeing this. I've always been a fan of the Jakiro maxing Liquid Fire over everything else.
Oh, yeah.
It just does so much at the later levels. It's pretty much always on a target once you get this level 4. So, like I said, I'm fine with it. I get why you would. I think I would just personally prefer the Yules.
You can just solo push lanes so easily at level 4 Liquid Fire. Mm-hmm. I remember playing recently a support Jakiro, and when I hit level 7, got my max Liquid Fire. I was in a lane by myself, and I pushed the tower insanely quick because no one came. And I was like, a support. I mean, like only other Lesh might be one of the only other good supports at doing that, and it was just amazing. Like it's such an underrated ability.
It's great harassment, and it's free.
It's free, like you said. It's only a 5-second cooldown, and then the attack speed slow is amazing too, late game as well, because you can put on an AOE if they're grouped up. He's just an AOE boss in general, though. All of his abilities are AOE. So to be fair, he really excels with other heroes that can either group him up or do something like that, which in this case was not happening. But they went for the early, which obviously Jakiro's good at pushing bases too, so that's why he was picked up. So. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting choice. So they did go the core Jakiro in that first game. They also went Earthshaker first round pick along with Shadow Shaman, Doom, and Death Prophet. Now, Earthshaker, he's just going to be around for a while, isn't he?
Especially when you have somebody like Drotum playing him.
Fair enough.
Amazing landing these ranged abilities, the Marana arrows, the fissures. He's just so good at those heroes, and they can be tricky. If you miss, it's like my problem with the support Earthshakers or the roaming Earthshakers, being that you wind up, if you miss, then you don't get levels, and you just run around a lot, and then you're super low level, and you're not doing any damage with your Echo Slams. So that's like one player that I would absolutely be like, yeah, whatever, dude, go for it. I have no problem because he's just so good at them.
Yeah, it's all about landing that fissure on the right side of a hero. You got to get that perfect, because it's the difference between getting a kill and not getting a kill. So yeah, he's definitely. But it's just so interesting to see him go like first round pick. Like that's how much they value him, especially in this like early game team. But again, he does make the difference. And like I was saying, in Empire, well, they came in with a 1-game advantage. It was a weighted series, best of 5. So they were up 1-0. And they went greedy picks. Empire went Skywrath, Centaur, and the Greed went with Ember Spirit. I think that was pretty much the only greedy thing they did. They also had Treant and Pugna. The Treant, you could say, they're thinking, oh, look at this pushing team. We need to get Treant for our towers and for defensive routes and capabilities like that. Does not stop the Jakiro ticks, I can tell you that much. Jakiro almost like negates it, actually, to be honest. But the Skywrath Centaur, pretty decent, but the Ember could just never get himself going in these games. By the time he was starting to finally get like drums or something, they were already getting their T3 pushed. And Ember needs time. He's good early game, but he's not great. He needs to get 1 or 2 good big items to really slow down a siege, because otherwise, what did they really have? Pugna was kind of it.
Yeah, the Pugna was like a late pick to just try and deal with the fact that they had been completely outdrafted for defensive purposes. Like you said, Jakiro is just going to laugh in the face of the living armor. So, and you look at VP's team and which of them are susceptible to Ember Spirit, Shadow Shaman, that's really it. Yep. The rest of them are tanky enough or are going to be getting the items they need to make themselves tanky enough against Ember Spirit. So it's not like even giving him till the middle game to try to do something really matters much at all, because he's still going to need more than just 1 big item or 2 big items to try and destroy the enemy team. So I feel like VP just straight up outdrafted, and when you pick up a core Jakiro, you get that extra little bit of pushing power where you might not otherwise have it unless you picked up something like a Luna, did something crazy with some glaive, something like that, or went for the Pugna yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting that they prefer the Jakiro over Pugna, because a lot of these teams, there was like a phase where Pugna was like the go-to core. Like people picked him up all the time, ran him in that safe lane, got the mech, and just pushed bases like crazy. But they obviously had their choice, and they decided they like Jakiro better. And maybe that's just the player's preference and play style as well.
I'd say a big part of it, too, is probably just the fact that, again, it's free. If you're going to be dropping bombs on towers, you're going to need some sort of mana regeneration to do it. Basilius might not necessarily be enough unless you're starting with a full mana pool. If you only get 1 shot to go at the tower. And I just think the ability for Jakiro to pump out AoE, CC, and also to be able to push for free is pretty crazy. He also farms pretty quickly because of the damage that Maxed Out Liquefier can do as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think it's... And also, he's, I would say, a better mech carrier just because he's going to wind up being more durable.
Oh, yeah.
So...
He's like an Ogre Magi, in a way. Like,
yeah,
he's
for
just,
being like a caster that's just durable.
just so tanky.
He has
on his
so
own.
much health.
Which is almost why I'm like, why Rod of Atos then? Because you're already so naturally durable. I mean, I guess you're enhancing it, but it's like, you don't really need the health. Like, he's got plenty, you know. And the mana pool, like we talked about, with the Ring of Basilius, he pretty much can sustain. And if you went Yules especially, you would never have to worry about the mana then. You'd be fine for most situations. Especially if one player on your team with Arcane Boots, you'd be good to go. But yeah, in that first game, the Tier 3, they pushed the mid-Tier 3 in 14 minutes and 30 seconds. There was just nothing we could do. We talked about the lineup. They just didn't have counter push. Pugna was like it. Ember Spirit was not doing enough at that point, and they just got run over. So it was a really quick game.
And, you know, I feel like Pugna, too, is trying to be a counter pusher against Earthshaker is just never going to work. I mean, he has to get so close in order to drop the Nether Blast, and Shaker's going to be able to...
Fissure and dead, yeah.
So
that's it.
I just think that Empire got completely outdrafted and maybe thrown off by the Jakiro, maybe thinking it was a support the whole time. But, I mean, they did see the fact that he was going to be core pretty early. It was drafted as core pretty early. It wasn't really a surprise, and they still managed to lose to it. It's kind of strange to me.
What's stranger is game 2. How almost a similar thing happened. So, in game 2, VP actually didn't pick Jakiro in their first round. Got to the second round and picked him. Because they went with the Marana Brewmaster as their first pick. So maybe like... I mean, it wasn't like completely different. Because Marana and Brew obviously are very great early game heroes. They're going to be strong laners. Which is kind of what the underlying theme of their whole draft is, hey, lane dominance. We're going to make sure either all three lanes are really strong or we have a good roamer like Earthshaker or something that's going to put a wrench in the enemy's team. Because essentially, all these drafts, they're not looking to go late game at all. They're looking to push in the base, put a ton of pressure, get a lot of gold from the tier 1s and tier 2s from across the map, and then put the enemy in such a compromising position because they're so behind in experience and gold that they've got nothing left to defend these pushes with. So,
I would say, to be honest, though, going off these two games, there's still like a decent amount of late game potential. I mean, you have Doom and Death Prophet, and in this game you have Marana, who is starting as a support, but she, you know, if the tower gold up, she get herself a Maelstrom, might be able to find some space to farm, and Viper's still going to be relevant pretty late in the game. No super hard carry there for the second one, I feel like, but I mean, in the Brew as well, they do have a decent amount of damage.
This was a support Marana, though.
Yes.
Right.
So, I guess where you're wind up losing out is you have your Jakiro that's getting the farm, and he's eventually going to be falling off as BKBs come up and what have you, but I still feel like these teams are not, for being as deadly in the early game as they were, still had, I would say, longer than average longevity when compared to other teams that are about taking towers that fast.
Yeah. That definitely makes some sense. Yeah, it's not, like I said, their draft wasn't all in 20-minute win, you know, but it definitely was lane present. I think that was kind of the focal point, was like, we are going to crush our lanes, and they did really well. That strategy really synergized well with the players and how they like their roles. Like you said, Jotum arrows, OP. You know, like they've got this game plan, they execute it perfectly. And after seeing that slaughter that happened in round 1, you think, okay, Empire's going to adapt now. They're like, okay, Ember was greedy. Let's kind of back it off and make sure we have some good lanes. What do? They go Ember again. Not only do they go Ember again, they go Weaver. Weaver who... I mean, in a pub, you might have a good early game, right? In a pro game, he's very susceptible to burst and to getting pushed. If he doesn't get his Lincolns or BKB up really quick, he's going to get bursted down. He's going to get locked down. He doesn't have enough time to go and get full health and mana again from his ultimate. So I love Weaver as a pick, but it just felt like those two picks were once again kind of greedy of them.
Ember, I feel like, in theory, would be good against a Jakiro because the attack speed's low. You don't really care.
Right. No, you don't.
That being said, okay, so like you said, if Weaver has the potential to get bursted, he's, so slippery with Sakuchi. But you're against a Shadow Demon, a Jakiro, and a Marana. So you're literally going to get disrupted. The Ice Path is going to be down when you come out, and in comes Zero. That is, if Jotum doesn't have an arrow that's already through your body when you come out,
I think
which
that
was
was
the
his
case
first.
every single time.
I was like every single arrow.
He's so good at those type
Yeah.
of plays. So to expect them to have any kind of semblance of success with those two heroes, I find questionable. They did have the Shaker themselves, Shadow Shaman, the Centaur, really nice to get up in people's faces, but it's still just fairly squishy. And
then Viper. VP drafts Viper. And Viper, I mean, I think I've talked about my affinity for that hero. The Flying Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Love that guy. Because he's so... Lane presence, not many people can beat him. He is so durable. If he's against the melee, he can max his first two abilities. The Nether Toxin and the slow poison attack. Yeah. Nailed it. And I'm not good with names normally. Or if he's against a range, though, he gets that armor up, and he's...
Corrosive Skin.
Okay, so 2 for 3.
And...
Viper Strike?
Yeah!
Oh my god.
You're the
Passing!
best.
That's a C. I'll take it. But anyways... it was Weaver versus Viper in the top lane. Viper on his safe lane. And it's just like, how could Weaver possibly have a chance? Alright, if I get auto attacks against you, I'm taking damage. If I go through you and I end up near you, Viper's just like, what up? And he's going to just start auto attacking you, and he's going to win the right clicks. You're going to lose the right click battle against Viper. So Viper just dominated that lane. It wasn't even close. And, that just kind of like was one of the many things that, right away, they got 2 kills against them from the roaming Shadow Marana with the smoke. And this is, like I said, this is VP's bread and butter. They know how to execute their strategy. And once they start ahead, they just snowball and get really out of hand at that point.
Yeah, they weren't super concerned with like the big AoE ultimates in these lineups either. They were more about fighting and being punchy, I suppose. But they weren't really able to deliver on that. I feel like they just needed time. And VP was clearly not giving it to them. And, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Feed a man for life.
Feed a man a fish.
One thing I was questioning, Brew went a hand to mice instead of a blink around 7.5 minutes. Did you like that idea?
I can understand it, sort of.
Because he had enough money, obviously, for both. So
I feel like it's one of those things if you're ahead to get further ahead, but a Blink Dagger will give
makes
you
such
the ability.
A huge ability. Brew, that's like night and day for that hero.
Yeah, they do have a ton of initiation already, so I could see the argument for not getting it and saying, we're doing well, I'm going to get a Midas.
Just in case.
Yeah, and just be able to get your Aghanims up, to be able to get maybe like an Assault Curious if you wanted something like that, which would be huge against Ember and Weaver should they ever come online. I can see both ways. It may have cost him a kill, but it definitely would have generated him some gold. So,
and experience, right?
And experience. So it's, I
guess it's not the end of the world. God knows best, right?
Yes.
Who was playing Brew? They pushed 18 mids. They pushed the tier 3. So this is basically was like I said, almost a repeat. Different heroes, but same story from their first game. So VP went up 2-1, and the 1 was only because it was weighted. So VP was looking dominating in the first 2 games. And we're like, okay, I think we know where this is going in game 3. Right?
Right?
Wrong.
I do want to say, though, before we move on, based on watching the game 1 from the first best of 3 in the winners bracket between these 2 teams, you really saw how powerful Virtus Pro's supports were. The way they were roaming around, their roam potential was so high, and that I think is also what sort of exacerbates how good the Shaker and Marana performances were. They were able to execute so well that it opened up the early game for them. It gave their team the potential to be able to apply that pressure early because they were already from the get-go putting the other team on their back foot. So I am really glad to see that Virtus Pro sort of has a style that involves that. It sort of lives up to the stigma of the area of the world that they come from, to be super aggro all the time, be up in people's faces. And it's good to see that they have themselves a style that seems to be working out with for them, even with the new players.
I was going to say, the only thing you have to be careful of is you have to be adaptable, because eventually if you get cornered into that's your strategy, teams will find a way to counter you out. Maybe happened. Let's read on.
In the old
game 3 here.
Game 3, 2-2.
So, 2-2 after game 3. So it was 2-1 going into it. Don't worry, I confused with my notes. It's fine.
Very confused.
It's fine. It says Empire wins here, so it's fine.
Okay.
So, game 3, I think Empire wins. What was I going to say now? Okay, you threw me off. So, Virtus Pro, Empire bans the Marana. They've been banning Tinker. Tinker's been banned every game, by the way.
Thank God.
Yeah, he's not making a presence.
If he was in the first 2 games, I wouldn't have watched the third. Let's be honest.
It just wouldn't have happened. But yeah, so Marana was banned, and then the next round banned Shakiro and Death Prophet were banned. So they were starting to take out a lot of heroes that they saw in the first 2 games. VP, of course, going with the Earthshaker, Shadow Shaman, loving those heroes. Shadow Shaman in all 3 games so far on different teams. But Empire goes their Skywrath, but then they go Bat Rider. Bat Rider not getting banned or picked up to this point. Followed by a Luna, support Naga Siren, solo, new support, and then Enigma in the jungle. So up against the Earthshaker, Shadow Shaman, Pugna instead of Jakiro, and then they decide to go with the Bristle Invoker. So, you look at these lineups and you think, okay, what's the differences between these and the last one? Well, you could say Virtus Pros is not entirely different. I mean, they've still got kind of a similar aspect. They got their Roamer from Earthshaker. Shadow Shaman's a great support who has great push potential early in the game. Pugna has similar ideas to Jakiro, like we just kind of discussed, matching them up to each other. Bristlebacks kind of give you that kind of durability to allow the push to continue on the front line. And then Invoker, he was an Exor Invoker, of course, so go Necro with him, and you're going to have a Beast Army pushing in. So VP kind of does a very similar strat, just different players in it. But Empire kind of just goes way different from their thing. Now, it's talking about how greedy they were before. You look at his line, you're like, there's kind of some good greed there. I mean, Luna, to a point, you want her 3-slotted, before she's really pumping out some serious damage in fights. But when she does get her ulti, she does pack a punch, which is really effective. The Naga Enigma combo happened many a time. And of course, this is where the greed kind of falls into place, because while they had a jungler with Enigma, he was able to gain so much. He's the fastest jungler in the game currently, you could argue, that he was able to still contribute by the time they were knocking on their door. And that black hole just makes a world of a difference with the Naga Sleep. Their supports just made so much of an impact in those early fights that they were able to give the space for Luna to get the item she needed to really just dominate late game.
Also, Enigma putting an early point in a Midnight Pulse, I feel like was some of the counter push that they were maybe lacking in the first 2 games. So even just having that one ability, having that really early point in it, helps him jungle just fine too. It's not like he was lacking in the speed for that. Just really gave him some additional damage on enemy heroes when they were trying to be aggressive, and also they had that defensive capability as well. I do like the setups that they had there, the Wombo combo. Also, I mean, just being able to Ancient Seal somebody with Skywrath Mage and then drop the Luna Ultimate makes even a Bristleback look pretty squishy, and there was a lot of damage coming out of those 2 heroes over the course of the game. Yeah,
it was definitely impressive. I actually labeled it Empire Strikes First because they finally got first blood in one of these games here. It was a great jungle fight that broke out in the Dire Jungle. And actually, Enigma decided to skill Midnight Pulse level 1 just to give vision for his team and to kind of get a little bit of damage on their whole team. But unfortunately, I mean, he had to steal some experience to get the Eidolon level, because you're not going to jungle very effectively with only Midnight Pulse, unfortunately. Hey, it's next level thinking. That's like something Joe would try, but let's not go that far. Like,
you can do it.
Triple stack right away and it's Midnight Pulse and be like, all right,
it's been done.
Leave it there. Oh, that's unfortunate. But yeah, it was just really effective in the Bat Rider. Mag on the Bat is just very effective. He's got a lot of talent. I mean, he made a couple misplays, of course, what player doesn't, but he really did a great job throughout the game of getting pickoffs on core heroes. I mean, there's one thing to get one on like a support. And it's like, okay, well, he'll respawn soon, and then we didn't really do anything. But when you get it on the core, it makes a huge difference because now you have that long death timer. He lost the gold he was farming, and you can probably get some kind of objective on the map. So they took advantage of that the whole game, and it was really nice to see that there.
Correct me if I'm wrong. When we did our Empire episode, when we were talking about just sort of like the unnaturally high win rates that all of their players had on a handful of heroes, and Mag's Batrider was absurd.
It was.
I want to say it was in the 80 percentile win rate. So, it's nice to see him on that hero again. I will say, too, if I, again, remember correctly, there were some struggles from Virtus Pro in landing Sunstrikes. Even with the Shadow Shaman setup, there were some misses, which is unfortunate. But also later on in the game, some great Sunstrikes come out from God. But, they, I guess, weren't able to put on that early game pressure like they were previously, and giving up First Blood, of course, is kind of put a damper on that. So, I did enjoy seeing the support Naga, though.
I loved, and this was Solo doing his thing. And how many times did I annoy you with the joke he's riding Solo right now?
All the time.
All the time,
whole
I said
time.
Yeah, I said that quite a bit. But, I mean, they did a good job. I think what I loved most about this game and the next game is that they realized, because of VP's strategy, when they were hitting 6 and 7, they would group up and just try to push down the lane. Well, they're like, okay, we can send these couple heroes that'll slow the siege a good amount, like Enigma with Midnight Pulse and Eidolons and these other heroes. And meanwhile, we'll send these other 3 heroes in the other lanes or in the jungle and just gather resources. They were so efficient with their time. And that's what really let them. Like, Luna was almost always farming something. She was getting those big items up and running. Naga, the support Naga, was getting so much farm by the late game. She looked like she could have been a carry because her net worth was really high. Had Diffusal, Manta, and all this other stuff. It was like, oh my god, who are you? A support? That's crazy. And this is kind of showing. I mean, Naga support was a thing of the past. Kind of fell out of grace with some of the nerfs she got, but so she's still just as effective if used properly. I mean, I think the worst part of her as a support is that song cooldown is so long because you have so much trouble usually with levels. But they gave Solo a lot of room to get experience. They gave him a lot of time in lane, said, go ahead, you farm that one, get your levels up, and he was able to really help out his team a lot because of that.
Yeah, they were able to make a lot of good plays off the back of the Naga ultimate. Some 3-man black holes came out. There were, just the time for them to set up and think about what they wanted to do, I think really helped them a lot, not being so under the gun. So, interesting to see that when we start bringing back the giant team fight ultimates, they're able to start fighting the death ball.
Huh.
Who'd have thunk?
Who would have thunk? No Tidehunter, though.
No Tidehunter.
It's fine, though. He's kind of starting to fall out of grace again. But
guy.
Don't worry, he'll make his comeback eventually.
Game 1 between these two teams.
In the other series?
In the Winners Bracket series. Core Tidehunter. Gush Kraken Shell. Let Bane and I think it was Shaker roam around. And he was just in his lane chilling, punching creeps to death. And then when they showed up, he was like, you're Gushed. Taking a jillion damage.
Kraken Shell, though?
Kraken Shell. They couldn't... It's just why Kraken Shells and the Anchor Smash is good for him in the off lane anyway. I mean, the times he's actually hitting enemy heroes pretty low, but the fact they just get so many points in Kraken Shell, and you just sit there and soak the damage. And they murdered with it. They put on a clinic that game one, Virtus Pro did. So go check out that game as well as these several.
Very intriguing. But yeah, I like the Naga sleep with the rest. I mean, like we were saying, they had Skywrath, Bat, Luna, Enigma. All 4 of those heroes with a Naga sleep can do something out of the sleep. Luna can pop her ult, Enigma can black hole, Batrider can get a lasso pick off, Skywrath can drop his ultimate. I mean, they all have amazing follow-ups that aren't just the Magnus RP necessarily, but something they all could do something off of it. Even if it wasn't their whole team there, if they only had like Skywrath or something, he could still do something off that sleep. So yeah, Naga was like a perfect support hero for this composition, and it really, like I said, allowed them to, I guess, fight off, defend long enough to get where they need Luna to be, and then they won the late game, of course.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, the fact that you get to hold people in place, not necessarily for catching them in bad positions, but so that, if you can't land a 3-man black hole, well, if we get one of them, that's fine. We can pick them off with one of our other heroes, whether it be the Bat Rider or just Skywrath being able to drop his ultimate. So, I think it's a great thing to point out.
And finally, Game 4. Putting the series is 2-2 at this point. What do we have here but some picks that are once again similar. Jakiro not banned this time against Virtus Pro. So they're allowed to go back to their, I'm going to call it their roots. Not that they've really changed anything at all. But they actually take the Skywrath away from Empire, pick them themselves, go with the core Jakiro again, the Bristle, Shadow Shaman, and then Enchantress for Jada this game. So I guess Skywrath is the only sort of semi-roam hero you got. It's kind of actually, I say their roots, it kind of almost fades away from their roots a little bit. A little more centric, like a lot more like early game pressure, like on pushing and stuff. The Enchantress obviously really effective at that. They were against the Bat Rider, Gyrocopter, Naga, Enigma, Invoker. So you see 3 of the same heroes here on Empire's lineup. The Invoker and Skywrath swapped out, and then the Gyrocopter for the Luna. So Gyro, I guess you could potentially say, I don't know, I wouldn't say stronger than Luna at any phase of the game, but he definitely brings a lot to the table when he hits 6 as well. And then obviously in the lane, a lot of good damage output there.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential here for Empire to just catch everyone in a bad position and then just throw them into the ground between the call down off of the sleep, which I think is just huge because you can time it out really well.
Don't need that Aghanim's.
Yeah. So, and even going into Invoker when if it gets super late and he has the ability to go for the Quas Wex oriented spells, there's just a lot of potential damage to come out here, and using the bat as well, so they still have the solo pick off potentials. Yep. Again, they have lots of spells here to buy time. I guess if you had to say that there's something that was it would have been hard for Invoker to land Sunstrikes, would have really only had the net for a setup for that, but it didn't really seem to matter a whole lot, and really great warding too, to sort of slow down the Enchantress, make her less effective. Yeah. And I guess this game felt more like we're throwing things at you until your towers go down, as opposed to we're going to take a little bit of time, and by a little bit of time, I mean minutes, to get ourselves a little bit of an advantage, and then we're going to do it.
Enchantress is kind of more of an all-in hero. I mean, obviously she can scale into the late game with the Aghanims, but typically you're going to pick her to do some work early game. And she just wasn't able to. I mean, you think of her and you think, oh, smoke gank. Like, she's going to grab a creep or two, smoke over, and get an early first blood for her team. But like you said, the warding, they placed a great ward in the Dire jungle that allowed them, it was basically in between the big camp towards the Dire base and then the camp by the river. And it allowed them to actually, they spotted the smoke happening as it happened, because it was in a perfect spot to give just enough vision to see it. So Enchantress essentially was not able to gank successfully, did not really get to push until later in the game, because she almost kind of depended on that gank to be successful. And then it just took too long for her. She was trying to build the Aghanims, but it was just coming up too slowly. And by that point, the rest of their team was already just getting out of hand. So, I don't know.
I think this is a great response that finally Empire figured out what to do, and it's neat that they were able to do it with these heroes, especially the Naga and the Enigma. I think that really, the other parts are slightly replaceable. I feel like these two heroes were core to the idea of holding off for his pro. I might even like Gyrocopter better than the Luna, although the fact that they have the single target damage is still nice, but it's just so they saw the opportunity to be able to catch out Virtus Pro in that game 3, catch out multiple heroes, and they just sort of take advantage of that further here. And I just really like that combination. I'm going to steal one of your notes and saying that there were no faceless bans or picks, which is kind of interesting because I feel like that's what you normally go to. If you're looking to sort of set up some of those other spells, you have Bubble Strat. If you're looking for the Enigma and the Faceless Void, which we saw Universe and Zai pull off so well at the International.
Yes.
So it's just neat to see another way of doing it without having a hero that is so meta relevant do it. And I again, to bring up the winners bracket series, because I'm going to bring it up as much as I can.
I'm glad. Use that research.
Virtus Pro did such a great job dealing with the Faceless, and it took him until level 6 to be able to do anything. And then even once he hit it, there just still didn't seem to be enough. And they were able to just predict what Empire was going to do with the Faceless. They do a great level 1 gank. They catch him. They know he's going to jump up. He's dire. Towards the safety of his tower. And what do you know? 2 of VP are just sitting there chilling. What's up, buddy? You wanted to jump away? I don't think so. They kill him and put him even further behind, make it even harder for him to come online. So putting it on the support and a jungler, you're going to, maybe not necessarily with the support, the jungler is going to get the level 6 ability. Solo was able to do a good job of getting the experience on the Naga Siren to get the ultimate online. So I think those are good ways to sort of shrug those team fight abilities off onto other roles instead of just keeping it on the 3 with Faceless Void.
Yeah, definitely. It was very. I just found interesting that he wasn't even banned. Like, he was just ignored this whole series, and I guess that's a good thing in a way because, like you said, his teams aren't relying on one hero to accomplish a goal. They've got other methods, and the Naga, like you said, was a perfect one to deal with this push. It wasn't only Naga. They had other great heroes that worked really well in unison. But no, it was just wonderful. The top bans were Razor, all 4 games, Lycan, Tinker,
Strange,
and then Wraith King.
Who could? Okay, that was a
little different. That might have been more of a personal, like, we just don't want to be against Wraith King kind of thing.
That was the thing in the best of 3 from the winners bracket. I want to say at least in one of the games.
Was it? Mm-hmm.
So,
but the first 3 bans, I mean, you don't really expect much else than that. Especially really. Lycan. I mean, can you imagine Lycan in these heavy push teams? I mean, it would have been brutal if they were against a Lycan in this lineup. So, yeah, it makes perfect sense. The top picks, Shadow Shaman. It's all 4 games.
Strange.
Earthshaker was in 3 and Jakiro was in 3. So I had to mention Jakiro and the Earthshaker just because, we discussed both of these heroes in good depth, but I just think it's awesome. Earthshaker being basically in the first round too when he's getting picked. It's just he's really elevated to that next level. Like he's not completely ban worthy yet. He'll get banned occasionally, but it's really more like, all right, we don't really want to ban him, but we definitely want him in our first round.
Yeah. There are a lot of games where you see, especially now where it's like the Death Prophet and the Faceless and the Razor, and sometimes I feel like you lose identity for teams because you see them pick the same things over and over and over again, and while you might see some variety, it's really nice to see Virtus Pro in these games, even though they wind up losing the series, prioritizing non-traditional heroes and the Jakiro, prioritizing heroes that they're comfortable with and are very able-bodied with, despite the fact that they might have been able to put them off till later in Earthshaker and Mirana. So you really did get a sense for the kind of team that Virtus Pro is and what they're able to do successfully. And I guess now they have something to work on, or have some ideas of how can we try to work around the Naga Siren Enigma. So pretty cool overall.
Just ban Enigma, and then they get Darkseer. I don't know. Is that any better or worse? Remember the old Darkseer?
No, shut up. Shut up. Those heroes are not allowed to be in the same game.
Yes. My last note was that VP, they figured out, hey, we get heroes that are good with BKBs, Gyro Luna, and then we get them online early enough. Their teams were so Magic reliant that once those BKBs were up, it was like every team just swayed right in their favor. So, but yeah, it was a really interesting series. Like we said, Empire coming out 3-2. So start from behind. Well, they started ahead technically. went behind 2-1, but then got their victory the last 2 games. They will be moving on to Taiwan, so pretty cool. Good for them. And it was exciting stuff. So there's been a lot of other series going on. Star Ladder's been live, so maybe we'll get some discussion going on that sometime soon. Hope you guys are watching all this Dota with all the new teams. You have to be, because I don't know how you couldn't be. You're like, oh, I want to see Team Secret. I want to see all these people. You got to check it out.
It is really exciting, and I feel I was expecting the patch hit a lot sooner than this, to be honest. So.
I know, right? We were like, what are we going to talk about? And then like a million games happen. Like, oh, thank you, content. Yeah.
Yeah. Valve doesn't have much time if they're sticking to the timeline of.
It's Valve time though.
Yeah, but they always feel like a Blizzard to me, where if they put a timer on it, then it's probably gonna. Like
so
you can expect.
We have
things. 3 days.
3 days.
3 days for techies.
3 days, folks.
3 days for techies. And
well, wouldn't that be a perfect way for episode 100? Just go out with a bang.
Well,
we wouldn't go out, but we stay in with a bang.
Stay where we are with a bang.
Doesn't sound
anyway. Continue what's going on. DoD question of the week, which we forgot about. For this week is going to be, which of the new teams are you most excited about? Is there anybody out there that you have been just chain watching? Because I know this week it's gonna be Navi. I'm gonna fanboy. Doesn't matter who's there. Apparently, I'm just gonna fanboy Navi forever.
And mine's BeatIT.
So
we're gonna list a few there and let you guys choose. So
yeah. So stop by DotaOnDemand.com and you can participate in that poll there. You can also drop by the Facebook or the Twitter to like and tweet and what other fun shenanigans that you can do on the site. So go out there, guys, watch some Dota, play some Dota, and hopefully before next time play some techies. We will see you guys next time.